Hey everyone, Chris Renshaw here, and today we're going to be looking at the Path to Carcosa expansion for Arkham Horror, the card game. The Path to Carcosa is the latest deluxe expansion for Arkham Horror, the card game. Now, if you've been watching the streams that we've been doing, Peter and I have played through the first two scenarios in the base box of Arkham Horror. There's actually another deluxe expansion called the Dunwich Legacy, which we're skipping over just to get caught up on what the most current stuff is. But I managed to get a review copy of the Path to Carcosa, and so once we finish up the last campaign in the core box, we're going to jump right into the scenarios here. So for this video though, what I'm going to do is we're going to unbox this and take a look. I'm not going to look at this, there's no scenario spoilers, but we're going to take a look at the player cards and the investigators that come inside this box. So let's get down to the table. Alrighty, here we are. It's time to open this sucker up and see what's inside. Stuff stuck in here. All right, cardboard insert. All right, there we go. Here we go. There we go. The campaign. This is the campaign guide that gives you all the details and everything. Nice little ad for Mansions of Madness. Here we have the new investigators that will have their little mini cards. And then, of course, we got 3 decks of cards here. So, let's see. This looks like it's the scenario deck, which if so, we're just going to toss aside. So, yeah, this looks like all the scenario stuff. We're going to set that aside. And we'll get to this deck, which this looks like it has a lot of the encounter cards for the scenario. But, yep, that's what I thought. There is the player cards as well. So we'll set those aside as well, and this should all be player cards. And the investigators, hopefully. Or... that's weird. There we go. They're in that deck. There we go. So we'll start with the investigators, which some of these look very familiar because I've played a lot of the Eldritch horror games, so like Lola Hayes here. So let's see, we got Mark Harrigan first. He's a soldier. You begin the game with Sophie in play, which I saw that. That was this right here, this weakness items. You get -1 to each of your skills. If Mark Harrigan has 4 or less damage, flip Sophie. Sophie cannot. Okay, so if you have 4 or less damage on him, you get to flip him. Forced if Mark Harrigan has 5 or more damage. Okay, so it starts on this side, and you can take a direct damage to get a +2 to a skill value for the skill test, but if you get 5 over, you get -1 to all your skills because it's like it's all my fault. So that's interesting. Let's see, 9. We got a lot of health. That's good, and a lot of combat. It's definitely more of a fist fighty kind of guy. Of course, you couldn't tell that by the nice AK or Tommy gun over his shoulder. So this another one. You're going to want him to take some damage. After damage is placed on him, you draw a card. And after damage is placed on a card you control, so it could be him or an ally, draw a card. And then his Elder Sign effect is +1 for each damage on him. So then we have Ming Tai Fan. I hope I'm saying that right. The Secretary, 7/7. After an investigator at your location commits a card to a skill test, that card gains a wild icon until the end of each test. +1 for the Elder Sign. You may choose a skill card committed to this skill test to return to their... Oh, so she's real good for returning cards to... So she's going to be good in playing with the deck where you're about playing cards to help each other out, because it seems like both of her abilities are built around that. A lot of investigation, a lot of lore, so that's good. A lot of investigation, a lot of lore, and then obviously not so well in the combat or the fleeing. So definitely a very good support kind of character. Sylphina Rousseau, the painter. Forced, when you withdraw your opening hand, draw 13 cards instead. Choose up to 5 events to place beneath this card and keep 8 cards as your opening hand. Discard the rest. You cannot mulligan. Choose an event beneath this card and draw it. Does not provoke attacks of opportunity. And then the Elder Sign effect +3. You may choose an event beneath this card and draw it. Really good at fleeing, moderate on the lore and combat, but pretty decent investigation. So I guess it seems like those draws. So you could definitely see a deck with this and me if you're playing more than 2 investigators, have her drawing up all those resources, and then have me, Taifan, able to help get you some of those cards back potentially. Yeah, just saying. And then let's see, we've got Akachi Onelli. I'm trying here. Sorcerer. Actually, I love this artwork. Is super cool. 5 investigate. 3 on combat and fleeing, but only 2 for lore. A lot of sanity, not so moderate health. Sorcerer, your assets with uses, charges, interplay with 1 additional charge on them. Elder Sign effect +1, add 1 charge to an asset with uses, charges you control. I really like this card. I like the more magic-y kind of characters in this game, so she might be one I try out. Because I like her. I like some of these stats here. All right, so next we got William York, the Grave Digger. I've been saying it wrong. It's got 3 willpower, 2 intellect, 4 agility, or 4 combat, and 3 agility. It's after you defeat an enemy, play an asset from your discard pile. Limit once per round, but you have to pay its cost. And then Elder Sign effect is a +2. If the effect is successful, return a card from your discard pile to your hand. Oh, it makes sense. Gravedigger, so you're bringing up the dead. 8 health, 6 sanity. So it's a moderate kind of player. I definitely like the abilities, his abilities, especially given he's a big combat person. So I definitely like some of his abilities. Then finally we have Lola Hayes. So we got 3 willpower, 3 intellect, 3 combat, and 3 agility. 6 and 6, so average. Forced, after your opening hand, choose a role. You can only play, commit, or trigger neutral cards or cards of your role. As your ability, switch your role. Plus, with the Elder Sign effect, you may switch roles. Okay, so with her, you can actually play multiple kinds of... You could build a deck with all the different roles and switch between them. I guess makes sense. She's the actress. So that's kind of neat. So you could take in everything. And of course, it makes sense. She's 3s across the board. So she's kind of like a neutral card if you really want to like deck build with a lot of different cards together and don't want to limit yourself to just 2 roles. So, all right. Now that we got that out of the way, let's take a look at all the cards. All right, the home front. Oh wow, it's a lot of combat. Mark Harrigan deck only. If the skill test is successful, move 1 damage from Mark Harrigan to the attacked enemy. Ooh, that's super cool. All right, for every 2 damage on you, take a horror, shell shock. And then me, Taifan, Analytical Mind to Wild. You may commit 1 card to each skill test performed by an investigator at another location. After you commit exactly 1 card to a skill test, exhaust Analytical Mind, draw a card. Okay, so that makes sense. She's all about helping use cards. Okay, so this card is it's relevant to the King in Yellow is one of the references in the the Path of Carcosa. I believe it's a play that's come to in the story of the game has come to town, but this looks like it's a tome that gets put into your deck. It cannot leave play except through the ability of after a successful skill test in which Ming Tai Fan has committed at least 6 matching skill icons for the test. Discard the King in Yellow. Okay, that's interesting. That ties it only to her character. Painted World, Safina Rousseau. Deck only cannot be placed beneath her with her ability. Play the Painted World as an exact copy of a non-exceptional event that is beneath Safina Rousseau. Remove the Painted World. Okay, so you can play this card instead of using a card underneath you, but when you do that, it's poof, gone from the game. Okay, it looks like you get a couple copies of that. Stars of Hades. Manually choose an event beneath Safina Rousseau and remove it from the game. If you cannot take 1 damage and 1 horror. If your deck has 5 or more cards in it, shuffle back in. Ooh, that's bad. That's a not so good weakness. Spirit Seeker. Choose an asset you control. Akashi Onel only. Okay, makes sense. It's definitely kind of a mystical card. Choose an asset you control with uses charges. Either return that asset to your hand or move all the charges from that asset to your resource pool. Okay, so it's a good way of refreshing if you really need some resources and you've put them all on stuff that you don't need. All right, so this has got to be, yep, this is the weakness for her. Angered Spirits. Put it into play from an exhausted spell asset. Move a charge from that asset to Angered Spirits. When the game ends, if Anger Spirits has fewer than 4 charges on it, you suffer 1 physical trauma. Ooh, so you really have to exhaust your spell assets to move charges over to this to make sure that doesn't hurt you. Bury them deep. So William York. Fast, which makes it a kind of immediate thing. Play after a non-elite enemy at your location as defeated. Add that enemy to the victory display. Okay, so this can help you get points for cards that are normally not worth victory points. Obviously, we got a Graveyard Ghoul's weakness for William. Cards cannot leave your discard pile while this is engaged, so that makes sense. You can't use your graveyard thing when you're being attacked by the graveyard. So finally, we got the Lola Haze. Fast play, switch your role until the end of your turn, reduce the resource cost. So all about switching roles. And draw a card. Got a couple copies of those. Here's her weakness. Discard all cards you control of your current role. Then discard the top card of your deck. Switch to the class of the discarded card. If the discard is a weakness, switch your role to neutral, which could bite you because then you can only play neutral cards. That's a bummer. Oh, and now we've got the class-specific cards. So we got a 32 Colt. Has 6 ammo, spin an ammo fight, so it's a standard gun. And we got 2 copies of those. True Grit. True Grit may be assigned damage dealt to other investigators at your location. Okay, so it's a nice little ally asset. Let me handle this. Spirit. Fast. Play after another investigator draws a non-peril encounter card, but before resolving that card's effect, you are considered to have drawn that encounter card instead. You get +2 to each of your skills. Ooh, that's really cool. This card could definitely be helpful in some of our games of taking over encounters when it's an encounter that is not dealt or not good for that specific person. And you get a benefit of +2 to each of your skills. You got a couple of copies of those. Ever Vigilant, 1 at a time. Play up to 3 assets from your hand, reducing the resource cost of each one by 1. That's pretty good. Then Fieldwork. After you move to a location, if that location has at least 1 clue on it, exhaust Fieldwork. You get +2 skill value for the next skill test you perform. That's pretty sweet. I'm liking these cards. There's a lot of, I could definitely see some possibilities here. Archaic Glyphs. Discard a card with at least 1 intellect skill icon from your hand. Place a resource on Archaic Glyphs from the token pool as a secret. After the third secret is placed on Archaic Glyphs, discard it and gain 5 resources. Record in your campaign log that you have translated the glyphs. So that's kind of neat. This looks like it could have a story component later on in the game. So that's very interesting. No stone unturned. Choose an investigator at your location. They search the top 6 for a card, draw it, and shuffle it back into their deck. In the know, 3 uses. Spend a secret, investigate. Investigate any revealed location of play as if you were there. Nice. So you can trigger it without necessarily being investigate. So you can investigate any location without actually having to be there. That's really good. I like this card. Stealth. Exhaust it, evade. The chosen enemy gets a -2 towards the evade attempt. If you successfully evade the enemy, disengage with it, but do not exhaust it. Till the end of your turn, that enemy cannot engage you. Sleight of hand. Fast. Play only during your turn. Put an item asset into play from your hand. At the end of your turn, if that asset's still in play, return it to your hand. Okay, so it's like get it out there, and then you can bring it back. So that'd be a good keep using items. That's okay. Daring maneuver. Fast. Play when you would succeed at a skill test. You get +2 skill value. Okay. Wait, well, why would you get... That's interesting. I wonder why you would... It says play when you would succeed, you get +2 skill value. There must be some specific instances where over succeeding, maybe you do extra damage onto a monster or something. That's interesting. Lock picks. 3 supplies. If Lockpicks has no supplies, discard it, exhaust it, investigate, add your agility value to your skill value for this investigation. If you do not succeed by at least 2, remove 1. Here we go. That would explain why you need that. If you do not exceed by at least 2, remove a supply from Lockpicks. Got it. Okay. This is really cool. I like this. Definitely, because I know sometimes we have some hard time doing some investigations, and that could really be helpful. Alchemical transmutation. Now we're in the mystic kind of cards. 3 charges. Exhaust it. Spend a charge. Test your willpower. For each point you succeed by, gain a resource to a maximum of 3. However, if you receive any of the symbols, you take a damage instead. That's cool. That's a good way of getting some resources. Uncage the souls. Play a spell or ritual card from your hand, reducing its resource cost by 3. I like. Astral travel. Move to any revealed location and reveal a random token. If you reveal a symbol, basically, you must discard an item or ally you control. Okay, so this is a good way of moving to any revealed location and reduce, and as long as you don't get any of those symbols, quickly trade. It's almost like a teleport card, but if you can't discard an item or ally, you're going to take a damage. I like that. That will definitely go in my deck. All right. Spirit of Thane. During a skill test on spell card, exhaust Spirit of Thane, you get +2 skill value. Exhaust it. Fight, you get +2 combat for this attack. I like that too. Is there only one of those? Oh, okay, I put it down. Okay, cool. And then lastly, we've got some of the Lantern. Investigate. Your location gets -1 shroud for this investigation. That's awesome. Discard it. Deal 1 damage to an enemy at your location. Does not provoke attacks of opportunity. Then, of course, you got your Gravedigger. You get +2 for an attack, and then you can discard it to discover a clue. That's really nifty. Hiding spot. Fast. Attach hiding spot to any location. Each non-elite enemy at attached location gains aloof. At the end of enemy phase, if a ready enemy is at attached location, discard hiding spot. Resourceful. If this skill test is successful, choose a red card, basically. Not named resourceful in your discard pile, add it back to your hand. And then we got just some basic weaknesses here. Top card of the encounter deck, it gains Surge. Put the drawing the sign into play. Your maximum hand size reduced by 5. Ugh. So you can't have basically any cards. It takes 2 actions to discard it. Ew, that's terrible. And then you got the thing that follows. and when it gets defeated, it gets shuffled back in. That sucks. And then your location gets +2 shroud for this investigation. If you succeed, instead of discovering clues, you defeat the man in the pallid mask. Ugh, I don't like those. And of course, they're going to end up in your deck somehow. So that's all the positive stuff and negative stuff that's in the Path of Carcosa. I definitely like some of these cards. Not all of them are, there's a couple that are, I don't know. I don't know if I'm sold on some of these investigators. I think, like, I like to try Akachi. I'm not sure. I have to line them up and see how they compare to the ones in the base box, and have to do some comparison deck-wise on some of the mixing of the cards. But there are definitely a few cards in here that I would love to have in my current deck right now for finishing out the core box. So I'm excited to try these out. I'm excited to go through these expansions. Path to Carcosa and the King in Yellow is such a big deal in the Cthulhu mythos, so I can't wait to sink my teeth into it. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed that nice little unboxing and walkthrough of all the cards that are available in the Path to Carcosa. Make sure you check out our playthrough videos of us playing through the base box, and stay tuned. We'll be doing live streams of the Path to Carcosa real soon. So in the meantime, make sure you follow me on all the various social media platforms. Subscribe to this channel to stay updated. And let me know down in the comments if you have the Arkham Horror, the card game, and what your favorite expansion is. Meantime, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.